House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy, along with 138 other House Republicans, voted to object to the certification of electoral votes, only to later call for unity in the face of Florida man's impeachment. But not before blaming me, you, and, well, everybody, for the mob that stormed the Capitol, armed with pipes and flex cuffs, as a makeshift gallows stood outside because they brought it with them.
I thought the president had some responsibility when it came to the response. I also think everybody across this country has some responsibility.
Which brings us to today, when McCarthy showed us exactly where he stands. Because instead of outright condemning Marjorie Taylor Greene for accosting a teenage survivor of a school massacre or addressing his party's rapid slide toward fascism, conspiracy theories, and opposition to democracy, he spent taxpayer money trotting down to Mar-a-Lago to take the knee once again and kiss the ring of his unemployed former dear leader. Here they are, looking like they're at a post-insurrection Employee of the Month party. You're doing a great job, Kevin. Thank you, boss. Joining me now is Jason Johnson, professor of journalism and politics at Morgan State University, and Michael Steele, former chairman of the RNC. And Michael, I have to tell you, we had this whole debate on our team meetings this morning, and it's a back and forth over whether or not what the Republican Party has become is something that they are tripped and fallen into because, oops, accidentally, we need so many white voters that it's going to mix in some, you know, some QAnon people and some white nationalists. I guess they're just there, or whether they're just cultivating it and whether they're like affirmatively want it. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez kind of weighed in on that today. When Ted Cruz tried to jump in and jump on her side about the whole Robin Hood thing, she tweeted back, nope, you tried to get me killed, back off, goodbye. And here she was last night, leaning in on that and explaining, in her view, what the Republican Party has become.
There are no consequences in the Republican caucus for violence. There's no consequences for racism, no consequences for misogyny, no consequences for insurrection. And no consequences means that they condone it. It means that that silence is acceptance, and they want it.
Mr. Former Chairman, Mr. Only black person who's ever been chairman of that party, where is the lie? Where is the lie?
Where is the lie?
Yeah, well, in what she said.
There was no, she's not lying. In fact, I would say to the good Congresswoman that if I were a member of the House, I would work with you on the very things that the nation needs to move forward. As all good citizens who are elected to office should do. So let's just be clear about that. And so she's not lying about it. And where I would change up what she's saying is not that those leaders condone it. They condone it, and there are no consequences because that's where the base is. This is an extension of a response that runs deep within the party, and it's not new. It goes back. I mean, Joy, you remember you covered me when I was RNC chairman. You remember the day I gave the speech that said, "Hey, guess what? The Southern strategy is over, baby. We're not doing that anymore. This is not what the Republican Party is." There was a deliberate reason for my saying that and giving that speech at the time, because I wanted to break that link that links back to not just Reagan bringing in the moral majority into the party in the 1980 campaign, or not just what Nixon did with the cynical strategy of embracing white segregationists in the South who had left the Democratic Party because Johnson, who was a segregationist himself, by the way, but he embraced the civil rights movement. He saw where the country was going and embraced that. And not just there, but going back to the Goldwater speech in the 64 campaign, in which he very much embraced the John Birch Society and all of that. So this is a long line, and along the way, many of us have tried to step in and break that stranglehold. But along comes Trump, doubles down, and everyone is on board. And that's what the fight is, I guess, about right now.
Yeah, I mean, Jason Johnson, you know, Michael Steele and I have talked about this in religious terms about the golden calf, right? When, you know, when Moses and Aaron face the children of Israel, and they say, yeah, but your God takes too long to give us stuff. We're going to get this calf right here, and then we can see him. And that's where we're gonna feel affirmed, right? And so we're going with the golden calf. Like, Trump is kind of the golden calf, but it's not the calf, it's the worshipers that create the problem. I mean, you've got, when AOC tweeted that today, the people on the right came for her and said, oh, well, you know, maybe you should blame Bernie Sanders for Steve Scalise. Bernie Sanders and Steve Scalise? Bernie Sanders never said Steve Scalise is a threat to the country, we need to go get him. Right? And so what happened to Steve Scalise had nothing to do with Bernie Sanders. I don't think we have Jason's audio, so let's get Michael Steele back in on this. They tried to make an equivalency. And Senator Sanders has critiqued, you know, the billionaire class. He never went after Steve Scalise and said to his followers, he's a threat to the republic, go storm the baseball game. So it was a false equivalency that's just fake and phony. If you want to talk Steve Scalise, he got elected in Louisiana after saying he's David Duke without the baggage. There's something wrong with the voters, Michael. The voters want this.
That's the rub of it right there. So you basically set it up very, very concisely, because you've shown now how this thing works. You've got this base that is driving a certain narrative. You've got the leadership that are not leading. They're afraid to actually step in and countermand the thinking and the nonsense and the noise from not the entire base. That's the other thing. There are a wide swath of Republicans are sitting there scratching their head. We've seen it. They're leaving the party in significant numbers. You just had David Hogue on the show who said, my dad was one of those Republicans and left after what happened in my neighborhood, in my school, because of the response of his party to the tragedy that befell us. So you have basically the tail wagging the dog, and that's a big part of the problem. I'm going to turn this over to Jason, because I think he's back up, because I know the brother's got something to say.
Yeah. I know he does. Jason, I know we got your audio back. Yeah. I'm telling you, the aliens tried to come and get you, but we got you back.
Didn't want me to speak.
You're being muzzled. You're being muzzled in a prime time.
I'm being
TV
muzzled. I'm being censored. This is cancel culture. Cancel culture.
Stop canceling Jason.
I mean, this is.
Go on, Jason.
Exactly. Like right here, right now. This is the thing that's so crazy about all this. And I think I kind of overheard part of what you were saying. You know, it's not just pandering to these people. It's not just not doing anything about Marjorie Greene. It's not just going down and talking to Donald Trump. It is such a cynical and despicable way of looking at the country. I mean, for Kevin McCarthy, he basically says that the majority of America that I actually want to serve is an America that wanted to kill Mike Pence. The majority of the America that I want to serve is an America that wanted to kill Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, that wanted to hang Ilhan Omar, that wanted to kill Ayanna Pressley. He's saying those are the kinds of people he wants to represent. And one of the things about representative democracy, you know, Barack Obama said, hey, we don't want a world where politicians are choosing their constituents, who want constituents to choose their politicians. But politicians can choose their constituents. John McCain in 2008 said, hey, look, I don't want people up here voting for me because they think Barack Obama is a Muslim. There is a way that you can run as a politician and differentiate yourself from the lesser and the more despicable elements of your own party. And none of these Republicans want to do that. And to reward people, forget that he didn't, you know, do anything to Marjorie Greene. He basically gave her a slap on the rear and said, go out and be somebody. But then he puts her on the education committee. It's like putting Jeffrey Dahmer to babysit your kids. Like, it's insane. But that's who they seem to think that America is going to be going forward.
Well, and that's because, and I'll say it a million times, they understand that this is where they can get votes. They are cultivating it, and that's as true of Marco Rubio and Ted Cruz as it is of the minority leader and that lady, the QAnon lady, Jason Johnson. See, that's why now I'm about to cancel you, because we're going to go to a commercial. I'm going to cancel you with a commercial break. Michael Steele, thank you very much. Appreciate you both, brothers. Have a good evening. You're both canceled.